This is my game. The game has right controls, jump, left controls, and animations depending on whether you are touching certain grounded objects. There's a timer at the bottom left and points at the top right in text for the GUI. Collecting the coins adds points, and there's also moving platforms that you are made parents of, so that you move with them, as you can see. I've got objects that break depending on how much physics is applied to them, and you can see here that there's one more last platform, and you can then touch this to end the game. And there's also, which I forgot to show, there is actually a starting screen where you can quit or you can start from there. Okay, over to the code. We'll start with the timer script. This code allows me to add a timer to the game so the player can see how they're taking to complete the game. We have the code is here. This code here is to split the time into minutes and seconds, and this is what will be displayed to the player in the timer text. This is getting a timer text and the storing the float for the start time. On the scrolling background, I get the camera. This is the array here. The child count is the background. Sorry, the children of the array are the things that are stored in the array. These functions are to be called if I'm going too far towards a side. It will be taking an image on the furthest side and then moving it to the other side. It will be moving it by the size of the image. So this code will move the background to the right or the left depending on which way you move. It takes the position of the right and left and moves it to the index position by the background size. It then tells it that the furthest left is now the new index left, and it tells it that the furthest right is now the index right. This code I'm using to reset the player on death, so I can ignore that because that was me trying to fix it. If the player makes contact with the object, then the player is sent to the game object it is assigned to, which is in the world. Also, it's setting on collision with an object that has the tag player. Platform movement. So we got the first location, which is a variable of vector2, and then it's going to be sending it to this one, which is another stored position. These are all variables. Originally, I didn't use serialize field, and it seemed to fix the problem. However, I'm now using serialize field for debugging the actual values of the code. Serialize shows things in the inspector even though they are private, which is how I'm getting them. A variable for controlling the speed of the platform, which this is a variable for type transform, which gets the transform of the children of the game object. A variable for changing the location of the platform. These are, I'm in a different version of Unity right now, so these are getting different things than they were before. Creating positions for the platform to go to and assigning them. Storing the local position to a vector2 and storing the local position to a vector2 again, both of the two different positions. And this is going to be moving the game object to the next position. This is calling the move function. This will move the position of the platform. If the distance between the current position of the platform and the next position is less than 0.1, then we are at our location. And then we're going to change the current location so that it can reverse to go the other way. And here we are changing the direction. So reversing the platform to go back to its original position, takes the next position, sets equals one of the two options based on what it is not. Basically, a complicated if statement. If next position is not position A, check that it is position A. If it is the second condition is false, then check the third condition. So it's going to be checking which location it's at. This code is to make the character a child of the platform so that it would collide with it. Yeah, not to collide with it, sorry, while they're colliding to it. checks if for player game object with the tag player, and if collision is player, then make the platform the parent of the player. This code is to remove the character as a child of the platform when they're no longer colliding with it. So they won't be a parent of it any longer. Level manager, this code allows me to move between levels of my game. Again, me trying to fix it a little bit. This is getting the ability to quit the game. This allows me to load the next level. So basically when I take the level I'm on and add one to it, so I move to the next one in the list. This is pulling the exit command, and this is if key down E, so the player presses E, they can quit the application. So this script I'm not using anymore because I now have the camera following the character with the scrolling background script. But this was, I had my character flipping animation, so I had the background of child of the character, and it was flipping the background. So I made it so it would follow the character without having to be a child of it, but this isn't being used anymore. So I'm getting the level manager, variable of a type level manager. Getting reference to level manager as a game object, which is in the world. On collision with the end of the level, the player is taken to the next level, which is a menu screen to start again. Accessing the collider, comparing whether it's collided with the checking it's colliding with the player, and then if it's a player, load next level. Collectibles. The script is so the player can collect coins and get points. Variable of typing, variable type text. Coin equals 0, so declare a number of coin to be displayed at the start, so it sets the points to 0. And then it's calling the function to set count text. Oh, sorry, this. Yeah, I suppose I probably should just remove that. I had a lot of problem with this, and I really could not get this to collide with the coins for a very, very long time. I can't really remember what I did to change it. I think it was just like a tagging issue, or I think I applied it the wrong way around, or something really stupid. It wasn't a coding issue. It was in the game engine. So if the player in the coin contact, they destroy the coin and add 1 point to the score, then set the score text. So destroy the object plus coin. Actually, it could just be +1 here. Now I think about it, and then set the count text. Encoding the value from a coin from an int to a string here, and this is what will end up getting displayed to them eventually. So the cat controller. So this is the maximum movement speed, which is essentially just movement speed. Max is not really determined. Is not really needed. This is determining which way they're facing, which is for animation later. Creating a float to store velocity here. If it's grounded, the player can jump, which will be coming into jump later on. Checking if the player is grounded. Again, this is something to do with the jump and changing animations. And this is the size of the checker. And this is the force that is applied to the player when they jump. This is calling the animator. This is something I could have used, but I ended up using get component rigid body to fix everything, and I tried to swap it over to this, but so I would just have to call it this for the rest of the time, but it was getting confused, so I just left it the way it was with get component. So this is get rigid bod and component and the animator, so I can change the animations. So ground is when the player is overlapping with the ground. And then if grounded, do this. I was having a lot of problems with this as well, so I could check when the player is on the ground or not. I guess I could probably remove that whole if statement. Oh yeah, and I started making some code to start making different levels of jump animations from a tutorial, but I only had one type of animation for jump, so that didn't matter. Set the player speed to 0. Move on the horizontal axis with the right arrow. So if right arrow down, then player speed equals max speed, which is just speed. Sets animator to change to walking animation here, and the first one was here. If else, if key is not down, then speed equals 0 and change animation to idle. So that's telling the animation to go to idle. If input key down, so if the left arrow is down, player speed will be a negative of the max speed, so it'll move them left. It also changes the float of speed in the animator to change the animation from idle to walking again. So changing that to 1 makes it change animation. Accessing the velocity of the rigid body and telling it which direction to give it velocity. Flips the character animator to the right if the character arrow is down and is not facing right. However, it probably doesn't need the and statement. It probably could just be without it, but I haven't tested it without it in it, so it works the way it is. And this is again if it's going left. If the player is grounded, the player presses the space button. So if they're grounded and they press space, sorry, ignore my debugging. Set the animation bool for ground to false. This means that they will change their animation to the falling jumping animation. More debugging for checking if it was jumping, and this is to set trigger to jump. And this is for adding force so that the player can jump. So this is flipping. This is what the flip function will do. If player facing right, make them not face right. Have to use a vector 3 here. Yeah, so I didn't, for ages I couldn't understand why it wasn't working with vector 2, because it's a 2D game, but in order to flip the animation, it has to come towards the camera. So yeah, it needs a vector 3. And that's my game.